Hi, I'm Caitlin,
I'm Bernice.
and basically today we're just going to be going over the large intestine. We're going to cover what the large intestine actually is, what its functions are, and then the path of food through the large intestine, which is also the final destination point for the process of food. So what is the large intestine? The large intestine, it's actually 6 feet long and just about 3 inches wide. The small intestine is actually a little bit longer, but the large intestine is called the large intestine just because it's a little bit wider and girthier. So the large intestine is broken down into 3 parts: the colon, the rectum, and the anus. The first part, the colon, is broken down into another 5 parts. It's going to be called the cecum, the ascending colon, which will go into the transverse colon, the descending colon, and then ending with the sigmoid colon. So there's actually no start point and ending point. They just kind of measure the ascending and the transverse based on how it goes up, across, and then down. So similarly to the small intestine, the large intestine has a mucus lining that will help the food travel smoothly throughout the tract so that it doesn't get stuck and rip any holes through the intestine.
And then we'll be going into what the large intestine does. So the large intestine has 3 main functions. The first is that it houses bacteria flora that keeps the GI tract healthy. Then it also absorbs the remaining water and electrolytes that the others have not, such as sodium and potassium. The final function is that it'll convert the liquidy food into a firm substance and release the poop out.
So next, we're going to be going over what actually goes on in the large intestine for digestion to occur. So the large intestine is actually the final destination point for digestion. So once the food gets here, it's about 90% done. Usually the small intestine absorbs about 90%, and then the large intestine will finish the job off and do the remaining 10. So what it actually absorbs, it's going to be the remaining water and salt. So in the first 2 parts of the colon, it's going to have the ascending and the transverse, and here they're mainly going to be absorbing the potassium and the sodium.
And then the path of the food, it goes from the small intestine to the ileocecal valve. From here, it will travel all throughout the colon. The ascending and transverse colon are where all the nutrients get absorbed. By the time the food reaches the descending colon, it should be mostly solid.
So now that we're at the end of the colon, it's actually the sigmoid colon, and this is what is actually going to deliver what's now considered poop to the rectum. So at this point, it should be mostly firm, and if it's not, that means something hasn't been digested properly. So once it reaches the rectum, the urge to poop is going to actually arise. And so when this arises, it's going to be delivered to the anus, and then in the anus there are different sphincters that are actually going to control when the poop will leave the body. The internal sphincters are going to open automatically when the poop comes, but as age comes and goes, that's when you'll have more control of your external sphincter to consciously let the poop out. So when babies, when they're they don't have the ability to poop on command because they don't have control of the external sphincter, but as you're in your midlife, you have that control, and then it goes away like babies when you get older because you don't have complete control of that muscle anymore. So unlike the other sites of digestion, the large intestine will use a gut-friendly bacteria to break down any remaining carbs to produce vitamins B and K that the mucosa that's in the large intestine will absorb. So in conclusion, the large intestine, it is responsible for digestion, but just the remaining parts that the other sites have not done, and it has multiple different functions, and despite its actual short length, it is still called the large intestine.
Period. And work cited. Boom.